Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we're going to be doing my reactions to the April 1st, 2015 ban list and what I thought about the hits that they did and the cards they brought back and all of those cool little things and just my overall reactions to it. I do apologize guys if I sound a little bit nasally. My allergies are acting up. It's that time of year and I don't want to go outside because the pollen is really bad today. It's beautiful outside, don't get me wrong, but me and my nose and the pollen, we just don't get along that well. So I'm just going to stay inside and record this video for you guys. I also got my phone because I can't remember everything that they limited and brought back to 3 on the ban list. So first off, all the dragon rulers got banned, and my first reaction to that was, okay, I'm happy that they got banned. But that was my original reaction because I played back when we had Dragon Ruler format and I hated those cards for a long time. Then I started after a year to grow to love them, playing them in Light Swarm Rulers and just other cool interesting decks you could throw them in here and there, and they could be a good engine for that matter. But then when I saw Dark Matter, I guess you could say sometime late last year in the OCG and what that type of deck did, I was like, ooh, this is pretty dang powerful. And then when we found out Dark Matter Dragon was coming out in Gold Series, Premium Gold 2, Return of the Bling, I said, well, maybe, to myself, I kind of said, well, maybe they will get hit eventually, you know. This deck is pretty powerful. When I saw the other rank level 7s they're bringing out, level 7 Exceed monsters bringing out, and I said, well, there's a chance they could get hit, but I don't know. It's Konami. You never know what they're going to do. But alas, they did hit those decks. I think that because the OCG banned them and the TCG both banned them, I think, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a year or so from now, we may eventually see errated versions of the Dragon Rulers. And I think the thing that made the Dragon Rulers personally more broken is the fact that they could banish other dragons to bring them back. If they just made them part of their elements, so banish 2 fires to bring back Blaster or banish 2 waters to bring back Tidal, I think they wouldn't be as broken. So we'll have to wait and see if they make errated versions of the E-Dragons in the future. Then they also banned Snatch and Steal. Well, from what I've been told, this was a test run thing that they were just trying out, Konami was, to just see if it was, you know, as broken as it was before. And alas, it still was as powerful as it was back in my time, back when I originally played Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day. It's still a very powerful card. If there was any one card I thought that was definitely going to possibly get banned on this ban list, it was Snatch and Steal, and they did hit that card because they probably thought, well, it's too powerful. I mean, taking your opponent's monster mid to late game when your opponent has his established board and just beating them in with their own monster, it's not fun Yu-Gi-Oh! And you know, Konami, they just don't want to promote stealing in Yu-Gi-Oh! I guess you could say, in general, just as a joke. So for cards, I'm going to have to look on my phone here, guys, because I don't remember everything they limited. Let's see here. Okay, so they brought back Dragon's Ravine, which is really cool and really awesome. I think that Dragon's Ravine, maybe, even though I know back when Dragon Rulers abused it, people were like, well, Dragon's Ravine is like, you know, with Dragon Rulers it's like crack cocaine, it's ridiculous, which it was. But I think that over the next couple of formats, we may see Dragon's Ravine coming back to 2 and to possibly, you know, 2 or 3 eventually. Excuse me, I scrolled too far down. I think Dragon's Ravine is going to be useful though for playing, maybe, I've been testing it out in the new Red Eyes support, and it seems to be doing good if you're building like a mill version of Red Eyes, which is kind of really fun to do. And then just, you know, Silver's Cry, bring out back the Red Eyes, do your shenanigans, have some fun that way. So I think it would be good with Red Eyes support maybe in the future when that comes out in the core set. Then they brought back, let me start at the beginning, they brought back Sinister Serpent to 1. I mean, Sinister Serpent back in the day was a very good card. You could use it with things like Regeki Break, Karma Cut, you know, as a recurring thing. You know, when you hit the graveyard, you could just use cards that say you have to discard cards to get their effects back. Lightning Vortex, things like this, way back in the Stone Age of Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially in Cookie Cutter Chaos format with Chaos Sorcerer and stuff like that. So you could use it that way and abuse it for stuff like that, or it's just a chunk blocker. But with the new errata, it's nowhere near as good as it used to be. They limited Tour Guide from the Underworld. If there was one thing on this ban list, I really was just like, just made me shake my head. It was Preparation of Rites going to 1 and Tour Guide. Excuse me. So the reason why it's not Tour, I was sad that they brought Tour Guide to 1 is Tour Guide has been one of those cards I've always liked, because it's pretty much the card that really brought Exceeds into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Plus the fact of the matter is she's always been a good card. I mean, she's been kind of, I apologize for people walking in the background. So, but it's a card that's always been good in a whole bunch of different decks, from Dark Worlds to just generic decks in general. But when they came out with Burning Abyss, you know, Tour Guide finally seemed to have a home. And even though it was very powerful in Burning Abyss, you know, it was still a good card. You know, it was very card in Burning Abyss. I think it should have got semi-limited, maybe not limited. I mean, yes, Burning Abyss is still a good deck, but I'm hoping, and I'm gonna take a wild guess out there, that maybe in a year or so, just like what they did with Colt Soldier Wolfbark, you know, last year when they limited to 1, and then in, like, I think it was December or October ban list, they brought it back to 3. Maybe they'll do the same thing with Tour Guide. You know, after a couple of formats, they'll bring Tour Guide back to 2. That way we can use like Tour Guide type of engines. Because as a one-of, it just really hurts a lot of decks that didn't really super abuse Tour Guide and just used it as an engine to, you know, just propel itself, which is kind of sad. But I mean, alas, I understand why it's a one-of for right now. Maybe it can go back to 2 eventually. I'm hoping, just hoping. Or Konami will wise up and actually just hit the Burning Abyss monsters like Seer and stuff like that instead of hitting the Tour Guide. So that way we can have the Tour Guide back for other decks out there, which would be nice. That's just my thought on that. So then I've already talked about Dragon's Ravine. Preparation of Rites. Like I said with Tour Guide, the other card I had a problem with them hitting, and granted, I understood, just like Tour Guide, why they hit the card. Preparation of Rites was a very, very good card. But the problem that I had with them hitting it is it made other ritual-based decks harder to play. Granted, they did not hit Manju with Sanju, especially Manju, which was, you know, if they had hit Manju and Preparation of Rites, other ritual-based decks could not be really played for the most part. It would really have hurt them. But at last they went with the Preparation of Rites. I'm hoping that maybe eventually they'll come out with another version of Preparation of Rites, maybe that says it's only can be used once per turn, or just, you know, have a little bit of a drawback. But, you know, some other version to make, you know, other ritual-based decks still, you know, be playable and just fun. You know, things like Relinquish, or, you know, Hail to Perfection, or things like this. That's what I'm hoping for eventually. But I understood why I got hit, because Necros were abusing it, and it's a very good card overall. But I'm hoping, you know, wishful thinking. Symbol of Heritage. Now, for what I've understood, and I had to do my research on this, and I've from watching the OCG use it, you know, a while back, because I do watch OCG what they're doing, because sometimes it does still translate to what decks will be good, or different combos with things like that in the TCG for the future, for long-term forecasting. But Symbols of Heritage can be used with Elder God Nodin. So with that, plus the fact that they brought Lonefire, which I'll talk about later, to 3, you know, I think that does kind of mean that Nodin may be coming out in the Super World Starters set next month. It's a possibility. Maybe it was just a reason for bringing Lonefire back to 3 and bringing out Nodin and not making Nodin that completely abusable. I don't know, but that's what I've been told and read on. Temple of the Kings, there's some combo decks you can play this on. I remember when Temple of the Kings originally came out in the, what was it, the Merrick Structure deck. And as soon as it came out, people were like, oh gosh, yeah, we get to play with Temple of the Kings, but it's broken effect. But we didn't get to play with it, like, at all, because it immediately went on the ban list. It was like, so you print this in a structure deck and we can't even use it. Thank you, Konami. So at least we get to play with that now with the errata. Limited, but was forbidden. Eradicate Epidemic Virus. This card was amazing back in the day. It was really super amazing back when it used to be a prize card, I remember. But it's, I think it's still a good card, but I don't think it's as powerful at all compared to what it used to be. It's nothing compared to what the original effect was back in the day when it first came out. It's been neutered, but it's still a decent good card. I think it can be run in some tech decks. Exchange of Spirit. There's some decks I see that can play this, but I don't think it's going to have any impact at all. Skill Drain and Vanity's Emptiness to 1. Rest in peace, my Skill Drain deck. That fun little deck that I played with Vanilla Monsters. May you rest in peace. I mean, I've always expected Skill Drain to get hit eventually, always. But I always knew that deck just was a ticking time bomb for me not to no longer play that innovative deck I played. So, I mean, alas, that deck has gone with the way of the dragons and many other creative decks that have been created in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So, can't play my fun vanilla Skill Drain Beast Warrior deck anymore. But, you know, I'm okay with that. I knew it was a card that had to go eventually. Vanity's Emptiness, happy that's going to one, kind of. It's, I mean, I like I said before in my video, I have a love-hate relationship with that card. Same thing with Skill Drain for a long time. And Skill Drain, I think, has been previously on the ban list before. So it may come back eventually to 2, I don't know, heaven knows any days. You know, Konami changes the ban list sometimes. So it may come back in like 3 years, who knows? Doubtful though. Vanity's Emptiness to 1. I think it's going to be run as a staple card now in most decks, especially if they don't synchro summon a lot. I think it's just going to become a staple card. You know, because if you can get a Vanity's Emptiness, it's just that one stop. It says to your opponent for that at least one turn, no good sir, you're not going off. So I think it's going to be run as a teched 1-in along with cards like Bottomless, Solemn Warning, things like that. Because anytime usually a trap goes to 1, it usually means some people are going to use it, and you know, as a staple card. So I think it's going to happen that way, but it's a good card still. Then we also have Ring of Destruction. Ring of Destruction was really awesome back in the day. One of my favorite cards. I have a whole bunch of old copies, along with my old Crush Card Virus. So Ring of Destruction is going to be really awesome to play around with again. I know it's got that errata, and I think your opponent takes the damage. They retooled it, so the fact of the matter was, you know, you lose life points before your opponent, so there's not any tie duels. I think there is, you know, because Konami never liked games that end in a tie. So I gotta hurry up here. I don't want to take all you guys' time up. Then Quirpulse Scout went to 2. Necrosol Baryonic went to 2. I mean, Quirpulse really got hurt, but I think they're still going to be a good deck. Necrolls, they just pretty much said to Necrolls, hey, you're too good for your own good. So they kind of touched them there on the shoulder and said, hey, watch it, buddy. Quirpulse, they just really took a little bit of a hammer too, but I think that was due to the fact that Quirpulse were using a lot of Floodgate-esque cards, and they hit them that directly to, you know, to make the meta more diverse. So they kind of got, I mean, they're still a good deck. I mean, Quirpulse got to 1 and Sacrifice to 1. Which is another thing they did, is they put Sacrifice to 1, I forgot to mention earlier. Which is, you know, it was too good. I mean, I remember back when the best equipped spell card in the game was United We Stand, and that was at one point in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I think it was even forbidden at one point. And then they come up now with a equipped spell card called Sacrifice that has 4 different effects. Back when United We Stand could just be used for an OTK push. So, I mean, yeah, it's too good. Let's see what else we got here. Charge of the Light Brigade went to 2, and 7 stars went to 2. So 7 stars, I think it's going to go to 3 eventually. The only reason it was at 1 to begin with was Dragon Rulers, unless there's the plan to come up with something else that's going to be abused by 7 stars. Charge of the Light Brigade, I guess, is the makeup for the fact that, you know, Konami really doesn't care about giving us search cards. It kind of makes me worried, because I did live through that time when Charge was at 3, Honest was at 3, and all the Light Swarm Warriors were at, you know, all the Light Swarm stuff was floating around. JD was at 3. That was not a fun time in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But I don't think it's going to be as powerful. It's going to be interesting to see how people play Light Swarms, and I'm looking forward to that now with the new stuff, the Honest at 2, and I think more of the Chaos Light Swarm is going to be the way to go in the future. So like I said, you know, Baryonic, you know, Scout, they hit the Searchers to slow down the top tier decks. And my favorite thing on the ban list, which kind of made up for anything else, you know, Tour Guide going to 1 and other things going to 1, like Prepper Rights, Sheehan went to 2. Sheehan, you went to 2. Finally I get to play my 6 Samurais a little bit differently and have some good old fun with Nat Beast and Sheehan. So for things that are unlimited now, we have Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Spirit. People, I think, are really hyping up a little bit too much Fire Fist, but I think it's going to be still a good deck. 3 access. Burning Abyss, you know, all the baby dragons came back. That's to be expected because the daddies are gone. Gores went to 3. I think people are somewhat underestimating how good Gores is it was a very powerful card back in the day, and still dropping a 2,700 beater on the board with a token is pretty scary in some instances. Lone Fire went to 3. This helps Sylvans, the new plant deck that's coming out. It's just very, very good, but it's kind of a little bit scary because I've seen that card do good. Goyo Guardian went to 3. Nobody really gives a hoot. I only played 1 Goyo. And Heretic Seal of Confiscation went to 3. That card's always bounced back, I think, between 3 and 2 and 3 and 1. I don't know. It's seemed to go over the place the last couple of years on the ban list, you know, from semi, stuff like that. But, I mean, with the Dragon Rulers going, I'm not too scared. So overall, I guess you could say I think I touched on all the cards that get hit. You know, I think it was a good ban list. I think it took a lot of shenanigans out of the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, yes, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot of shenanigans, but it took a little bit away of that crazy stuff. It took the Dragon Rulers away. It took Vanities. It took Skill Drain away. It touched the top tier decks, just said, you know, on the shoulder and said, hey, watch it, buddy. You know, so I think it took a lot of that craziness that we had last format to 2 formats away. May have not ended it. You know, we do have the World Superstars deck coming out, and we have, you know, Star Celefs, maybe Nodin, and other stuff coming out that could affect us and make Shaddolls and Telenites, you know, become more popular, you know, more powerful like we saw in the OCG. So, I mean, it may get crazy again, but you know, at least Konami did, I think, the right thing. I think this is the first time they've banned and hit as many cards on the ban list. I don't think they've touched as many cards on the ban list, you know, since the 2013 ban list, the September one, the one that was the apocalypse, I guess you could say. They haven't touched as many cards since then, and this was the first ban list they did that. So I think they put their house semi back in order and kept things in check. So that's just how I feel. I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes I do trust Konami in the way they do with the ban list. I think they know what they're doing sometimes, actually. Even though that sounds very crazy and maybe sacrilegious to some people, I sometimes think they have an idea. This is a business, and they want to run it like a business. So I kind of have some trust in what they do sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. So till next time, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling to all of you. I apologize this was a 17-minute video, but we went full in depth through the ban list, talked about the next upcoming format. I think it's going to be a little bit more diverse at first, like it always is, and then eventually it's going to go, and we'll have to see what happens in the World Starters set, because that I think is going to affect what the format becomes. But till next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling. Seto Kaiba, I'm out of here. And I know people are going to ask me, you know, how do I think this affects the top tier decks? I think Neckclaws are still going to be number 1. I think, you know, I think it's Neckclaws, you know, and then as the format progresses, it's going to shape in and mold into being, if Star Celefs come out, you know, Shaddolls, Telenites, Burning Abyss will still be there. Quilpolts, I think, even though people underestimate it, are still going to be there as well. And then you're going to have your Senjus, Spirit Beast. People are going to be playing with probably the new Blackwings and Shiens and everything else people like to play. So never know what's going to happen, but that's what I just personally think. So until next time, guys, take care, everybody. Seto Kaiba, I'm out of here, guys. Until next time, good luck dueling to you all.